First contact betrayal. The stars hum like distant lanterns in the vast emptiness of space as the UES Prometheus approached the massive orbital structure. Commander Ilara Chen stood on the bridge, her dark eyes fixed on the alien station that gleamed like a silver spider web against the backdrop of swirling cosmic dust. After 2 years of preparation, humanity's first diplomatic mission to the Galactic Consortium had arrived. Impressive engineering, remarked Dr. Vikram Sani, Earth's foremost xenobiologist and one of the 5 members of the diplomatic team. Their structural design suggests a civilization at least 1,000 years more advanced than ours. Ilara nodded, her expression remaining neutral despite the anxiety churning in her stomach. As both captain of the Prometheus and head of security for the mission, she carried a burden few could understand. Humanity had only achieved faster-than-light travel 15 years ago, and now they were about to meet with representatives of 17 spacefaring species that claimed to govern this sector of the galaxy. Remember the protocols, she addressed her crew. We are representatives of all Earth. Our actions here may determine humanity's place among the stars for generations to come. The ship's communication officer, Lieutenant James Park, turned from his console. Commander, we're receiving docking instructions from the station. They're surprisingly detailed about our approach vectors, almost as if they know our ship's capabilities intimately, muttered Chief Engineer Reza Karim, the concern evident in his voice. Ilara filed that observation away. Follow their instructions precisely, but maintain defensive systems on standby. Passive scans only. The discovery of the consortium had been accidental. A human exploration vessel had detected unusual energy signatures near Alpha Centauri 3 years ago, leading to first contact with the Velrathi, an avian species that claimed to be scouts for a larger interstellar community. What followed was a flurry of preliminary communications, data exchanges, and eventually, this invitation to the consortium's central hub. As the Prometheus docked with a gentle thud, Ilara met with Ambassador Marcus Rivera, the leader of the diplomatic mission. A veteran diplomat with silver at his temples, Rivera had been personally selected by the United Earth Alliance Secretary General. This is the moment humanity has dreamed of since we first looked up at the stars, Rivera said, adjusting his formal uniform. First contact with not just one alien civilization, but an entire community of them. Just remember, Ambassador, Ilara replied, that not all dreams end happily. We still know very little about their actual intentions. Rivera smiled patiently. Your caution is why you're here, Commander. But diplomacy requires optimism as much as it requires caution. The delegation consisted of 5 humans: Ambassador Rivera, Dr. Sani, Dr. Amara Johnson, Earth's leading physicist, Professor Changwei, linguistics specialist, and Ilara herself. As they prepared to disembark, Ilara checked her ceremonial sidearm, the only weapon the consortium had permitted, and gave final instructions to Lieutenant Park. If we don't check in every 6 hours, initiate Protocol Sentinel. If we miss 2 check-ins, you are to depart immediately for Earth and deliver all collected data to the Secretary General personally. Understood, Commander, Park replied, his expression grave. Good luck. The delegation stepped through the airlock into a vast, circular chamber. The gravity felt slightly lighter than Earth's, and the air carried a faint metallic scent. 3 aliens waited to greet them, each strikingly different from the others. The tallest, standing nearly 8 feet, had iridescent scales that shifted between deep blues and greens. Its 4 eyes tracked the humans with unnerving precision. Beside it stood a being that appeared almost gelatinous, with multiple tentacle-like appendages and no discernible facial features. The third was the most humanoid, bipedal with 2 arms, though its skin was a deep crimson and its head elongated with no visible ears. Welcome to Nexus Prime, humans of Earth, the crimson being spoke, its voice translated through the devices provided to the delegation. I am High Counselor Zex Terrell of the Velrathi Dominion. We have awaited your arrival with great anticipation. Ambassador Rivera stepped forward and performed the greeting gesture they had been instructed to use. Right hand open at chest level, left hand open at waist level. On behalf of the United Earth Alliance and all humanity, we extend gratitude for your welcome and hopes for peaceful cooperation. What followed was a tour of the station's diplomatic sector. The humans were shown to their quarters, invited to a reception with representatives of various species, and given access to certain parts of the consortium's knowledge databases. Everything seemed to be proceeding according to the expected diplomatic protocols. But on the third day, Ilara noticed something troubling. "They're isolating us," she told Rivera during a private moment in his quarters, which she had thoroughly swept for surveillance devices. "Each of us is being carefully separated from the others during these cultural exchange sessions." Rivera frowned. "Are you certain this isn't standard diplomatic procedure? They may simply want to efficiently share their specialized knowledge with each of us." "Perhaps," Ilara conceded, "but I also noticed that the data they've provided about their military capabilities is suspiciously incomplete. And Dr. Johnson mentioned that the physics information they've shared is oddly curated, almost as if they're deliberately withholding key elements." Later that day, Dr. Sani approached Ilara with additional concerns. The xenobiologist's normally calm demeanor was visibly disturbed. "Commander, I've discovered something in their biological database that doesn't make sense," he whispered as they walked through a garden designed to showcase flora from various worlds. According to their records, they'd been studying Earth life forms for over a century. Ilara froze. "That's impossible. We only achieved spaceflight in the 20th century." "Exactly," Sani nodded. "Yet they have detailed genetic analyses of human beings dating back to when we were still flying propeller aircraft. They've been observing us, Commander, for generations." The revelation sent a chill down Ilara's spine. If the consortium had been monitoring Earth without contact, what else might they be hiding? She instructed everyone on the team to remain alert and continue gathering information while maintaining the appearance of diplomatic engagement. On the fifth day, Professor Chang made a critical discovery while working with the linguistics database. The consortium's translation system had a backdoor that allowed him to access communications not intended for human consumption. What he found confirmed their worst fears. "They're calling us the Ascendant Threat," Chang told the delegation during their secure meeting. "There are extensive discussions about humanity's unprecedented developmental velocity and debates about containment strategies. Some factions are advocating for direct intervention before our technology advances further." Ambassador Rivera's face paled. "Are you certain of your translations?" "Beyond doubt, Ambassador," Chang replied grimly. "I've cross-referenced the terms multiple times. They fear us, not because of what we've done, but because of what they believe we might become." Ilara immediately implemented heightened security protocols. "We need to get this information back to Earth. I'm moving up our next scheduled communication with the Prometheus." But the consortium was already moving against them. As Ilara attempted to reach the ship, she found her access to the communication systems mysteriously restricted. When she tried to return to their quarters, the station's transport system diverted her to an unfamiliar section. She emerged into a dimly lit chamber where High Counselor Zex Terrell waited with several other alien representatives. "Commander Chen," the Velrathi said, its tone no longer carrying the warmth of their first meeting, "your species presents us with a unique dilemma. In the 50,000 years of the consortium's existence, we have never encountered a species that advances as rapidly as humans." Ilara's hand moved subtly toward her sidearm. "Technology sharing is one of the benefits of diplomatic relations, is it not? Why fear our advancement?" "It is not merely technological advancement that concerns us," replied another alien, its voice buzzing through the translator. "It is your inherent nature. Your species emerged from your planet's most aggressive predatory lineage. You think in ways we find unpredictable." "Where are the other members of my delegation?" Ilara demanded. "They are being processed," Zex Terrell stated flatly. "The consortium has reached consensus. Humanity's development must be carefully managed. Your planet will be placed under protective oversight until your species has evolved beyond certain aggressive tendencies. Ilara's blood ran cold. Protective oversight? You mean conquest. A regrettable necessity, the Velrethi responded. Your world possesses resources the Consortium requires, and your species' rapid advancement poses an unacceptable risk to galactic stability. With lightning reflexes, Ilara drew her weapon and fired at the ceiling environmental controls, causing emergency containment protocols to activate. In the confusion, she escaped the chamber, fighting her way through the station with the sole goal of reaching the Prometheus. What she discovered along the way shattered any hope for peaceful resolution. Through a viewport, she witnessed Ambassador Rivera and Dr. Johnson being executed by Consortium security forces. In another section, she found Dr. Sani lying dead, his body showing signs of invasive biological examination. By the time Ilara reached the docking bay, alarms were blaring throughout the station. She found Professor Chung hiding near the airlock, wounded but alive. "They've classified us as a Type 7 extinction risk," Chung gasped as Ilara helped him toward the ship. Their records show they've eliminated 12 other species with this designation. The Prometheus was already under attack, but Lieutenant Park had maintained the ship's defenses as ordered. As Ilara and Chung fought their way aboard, the ship's systems registered multiple hostile vessels converging on their position. "Initiate emergency departure," Ilara commanded as she reached the bridge, blood streaming from a wound on her forehead. "We need to warn Earth." "What about the rest of the delegation?" Park asked, though his expression showed he already knew the answer. "They're gone," Ilara said grimly. "And if we don't reach Earth in time, humanity might be next." As the Prometheus broke away from the station, evading enemy fire with maneuvers that pushed the ship's systems to their limits, Ilara recorded everything they had learned about the Consortium's true intentions. The ship sustained heavy damage during their escape, but finally managed to make the jump to FTL, beginning the desperate race back to Earth. In her final transmission to Earth, sent through quantum entanglement communication that couldn't be intercepted, Commander Chen included all evidence of the Consortium's betrayal and a single, clear recommendation: initiate Protocol Ares. The Consortium has declared war on humanity. May God have mercy on them, because we will not. Humanity Unleashed. 3 months after Commander Chen's return to Earth, the Velrethi battle fleet emerged from hyperspace at the edge of the Sol system. 27 massive warships, each nearly twice the size of humanity's largest vessel, formed a menacing armada against the blackness of space. Their sleek, organic-looking hulls gleamed under the distant light of Earth's sun as they began their advance toward the third planet. High Commander Zexforal, cousin to the Velrethi High Counselor, observed the blue-green whirl through the flagship's viewing portal. According to the Consortium's intelligence, human defenses would be minimal. A handful of primitive warships with limited faster-than-light capabilities, and perhaps a few orbital platforms. "Commence scanning of planetary defenses," Zexforal ordered. "Prepare pacification protocols as outlined by the Consortium directive." The Velrethi officer in charge of sensors chittered nervously. "High Commander, I'm detecting anomalous readings from the planet's moon. There appear to be structures that weren't in our survey data." Zexforal's crest rose in irritation. "Impossible. Our last covert survey was conducted less than a planetary cycle ago." Before the sensor officer could respond, alarms blared across the command deck. Multiple vessels detected. They're emerging from concealed bases on the dark side of the moon and from beneath the Martian surface. On the tactical display, dozens of human warships suddenly appeared, rising from hidden lunar bases and Martian underground facilities that had been shielded from detection. Unlike the exploration and diplomatic vessels the Consortium had encountered before, these ships were unmistakably designed for war. Zexforal's 4 eyes widened in shock. How could they have built this fleet? The Consortium's assessment indicated they were at least 30 cycles away from this level of military capability. "Sir," The communications officer interrupted. "We're receiving a transmission from the human forces." The view screen flickered to life, revealing a stern-faced human woman in a crisp military uniform adorned with gleaming insignia of rank. Her graying hair was pulled back tightly, emphasizing sharp features that showed no fear, only cold determination. "Velrathi Fleet, this is Admiral Helena Vasquez of the United Earth Defense Force. Your unprovoked execution of our diplomatic delegation and planned invasion of Earth constitute acts of war against humanity. You were warned once. There will not be a second warning." Zexforal's mandibles clicked in derision. "Admiral Vasquez, your bravery is admirable, but misguided. The consortium has subjugated species far more advanced than yours. Surrender now, and we will ensure your people's survival under our guidance." The human admiral's expression didn't change. "We are not surrendering today, High Commander. Protocol errors is now in effect." The transmission cut off abruptly. Seconds later, the tactical officer shrieked in alarm. Energy spikes across the human fleet. "They're launching something." What streaked toward the Velrathi fleet weren't conventional missiles or energy weapons. They were small, nimble craft that moved with impossible speed, evading point defense systems with ease. As they reached the Velrathi vessels, they didn't explode. They attached themselves to the hulls. "What are they?" demanded Zexforal. The answer came moments later as the first Velrathi destroyer systems began to fail. The small devices were quantum field disruptors, technology the consortium had deemed theoretically impossible, but the humans had somehow perfected. Boarding craft detected. Another officer called out, "They're breaching our hulls on multiple ships." Inside the Velrathi flagship, Commander Ilara Chen led the first wave of Earth's special forces. Her face was set in grim determination beneath her combat helmet as she directed her team through the alien vessel. Unlike the diplomatic mission, this time they came prepared, equipped with exo-armor and weapons specifically designed for this encounter, based on the data she had gathered during her escape. "Remember your training," she told her squad through the comm system. "The Velrathi have superior reach, but slower reflexes than humans. Use that to your advantage." Across the battlefield of space, human forces executed a strategy that left the Velrathi commanders bewildered. Instead of the straightforward assault they expected from a primitive species, they faced a multi-layered attack that seemed to anticipate their every countermove. Aboard the UES Retribution, Admiral Vasquez watched the battle unfold with cold satisfaction. Beside her stood Professor Chang Wei, the only other survivor of the diplomatic mission, now serving as chief advisor on alien psychology and tactics. "They're responding exactly as you predicted, Professor," Vasquez noted as the Velrathi fleet attempted to regroup into a defensive formation. Chang nodded solemnly. "The Velrathi strategic doctrine is 10,000 years old and hasn't evolved significantly because they've rarely faced genuine resistance. Their overconfidence is their greatest weakness." On the tactical display, a second wave of human ships emerged from hidden positions in the asteroid belt. These vessels were different, smaller, faster, and equipped with a weapon the consortium had never encountered. The NOVA cannon, which fired projectiles accelerated to near-light speed using controlled micro-singularities. The first NOVA shot tore through a Velrathi cruiser as if it were made of paper, leaving nothing but expanding debris in its wake. The second and third shots claimed 2 more enemy vessels before the Velrathi realized what was happening. "How is this possible?" Zexforal demanded, his flagship shuddering under repeated impacts. "Their technology should be centuries behind ours." The truth was something the consortium had failed to understand about humanity. While they had been watching Earth, cataloging its biology, and studying its overt technological development, they had missed the most crucial aspect of human nature: the capacity for rapid adaptation and the tendency to prepare for worst-case scenarios. For decades, Earth governments had maintained black-budget projects dedicated to developing defensive technologies against potential alien threats. When first contact finally occurred, these projects had accelerated, operating in secret facilities buried beneath the lunar surface and deep within Mars, shielded from observation. As the battle continued, the Velrathi advantage in numbers and ship size began to matter less and less. Human vessels maneuvered in ways that defied conventional space combat doctrine, using Earth's gravity well and the Moon's position in complex slingshot maneuvers that allowed them to strike from unexpected vectors. Inside the Velrathi flagship, Commander Chen and her team fought their way to the central command deck. The aliens fought fiercely, but human soldiers moved with a speed and adaptability that the Velrathi, accustomed to the predictable tactics of subjugated species, couldn't match. Central command deck secured, Chen reported as her team eliminated the last of the Velrathi defenders. High Commander captured. Zexforal, now a prisoner, stared at Chen with a mixture of fear and disbelief. "You were on the diplomatic mission. You should be dead." "You underestimated me then," Chen replied coldly, "just as you've underestimated all of humanity now." Within 6 hours, the battle was over. Of the 27 Velrathi warships, 22 had been destroyed or disabled. The remaining 5 had surrendered when it became clear that defeat was inevitable. 2 days later, Admiral Vasquez stood before the United Earth Alliance Security Council, presenting the outcomes of humanity's first interstellar war. "The Velrathi invasion force has been neutralized," she reported. "Using the quantum entanglement communicators we captured, we've delivered our terms to the Galactic Consortium." Secretary General Mikhail Karlov leaned forward. "And their response?" "Shock, primarily," Vasquez replied with a thin smile, followed by disbelief, then panic. According to intelligence extracted from the Velrathi command systems, the consortium has never encountered a defeat of this magnitude in their history. Professor Chung stepped forward. "The psychological impact cannot be overstated. The consortium's entire socio-political structure is built on the assumption of their technological supremacy. This defeat has shattered that foundation." "What of our terms?" asked the Chinese representative. "They've agreed to all primary conditions," Vasquez answered. "Recognition of Earth's sovereignty, reparations for the murdered diplomatic team, and the establishment of a 50-light-year exclusion zone around our solar system that no consortium vessel may enter without explicit permission." The room fell silent as the implications sank in. Humanity, which had only achieved faster-than-light travel 15 years ago, had not only repelled an invasion by an interstellar power thousands of years more advanced, but had dictated terms from a position of strength. "There's something else you should know," Commander Chen added, stepping forward. "During our operation aboard the Velrathi flagship, we recovered data that explains why they feared us so much." She activated a holographic display showing comparative developmental timelines for various species. The line representing humanity's technological progress shot upward at an angle far steeper than any other. According to their evolutionary models, it should have taken us another 1,000 years to reach our current level of development. They classified us as a singularity species, one whose rate of advancement follows an exponential rather than linear progression. In other words, Professor Chang explained, they attacked us not because of what we are, but because of what their models predicted we would become, a pure power capable of challenging consortium dominance within a single human generation. 1 week later, a different kind of meeting took place on the rebuilt UES Prometheus. Commander Chen, now promoted to Admiral, represented Earth in the first true diplomatic exchange with the consortium, this time on humanity's terms. The alien representatives, including a chastened Zexteral, sat across from the human delegation. The power dynamic had shifted irrevocably. The consortium acknowledges its misjudgment regarding humanity. Zexteral began carefully. "We propose a new beginning to our relations." Admiral Chen studied the alien with cold eyes. "You murdered our diplomats and planned to enslave our world. Misjudgment seems an inadequate term. What would you have us do?" Another representative asked, this one from a species that resembled a crystalline arthropod. The reality of your species' capabilities cannot be denied now. The balance of power has shifted. That's the first honest thing you've said to us, Chen replied. Here are our terms for future interaction. Earth will establish its own interstellar presence without consortium interference. We will share technological developments at our discretion, not yours. And any aggression against human worlds or interests will be met with disproportionate force. You speak as conquerors, Sex Terrell observed. No, Chen corrected. We speak as equals, something the consortium never intended to allow. The difference is that we don't need to conquer to ensure our security. We merely need you to understand what happens when you threaten our existence. As the consortium representatives departed, Professor Chang joined Chen at the viewport, watching the alien shuttle return to their vessel. They still don't truly understand us, Chang remarked. Even now, they're trying to categorize humanity according to their existing models. Chen nodded. That's their greatest weakness. They've existed for so long without meaningful challenge that they've lost the ability to adapt. They see our victory as an anomaly rather than a harbinger. And what do you see it as, Admiral? Chen watched as the stars stretched into lines of light as the Prometheus entered FTL, carrying them back to Earth. A beginning, she answered. Humanity has announced its presence to the galaxy. Now we have to decide what kind of interstellar civilization we want to be. As news of the victory spread across Earth, humanity experienced something unprecedented in its history, a unifying moment that transcended national, cultural, and ideological boundaries. For the first time, humans everywhere identified primarily as citizens of Earth rather than of individual nations. Research into the captured consortium technology accelerated human development even further. Within 5 years, Earth had established its first extrasolar colonies. Within 10, the United Earth Alliance had expanded to become the Sol Federation, encompassing 17 star systems. And throughout the galaxy, a new phrase entered the lexicon of spacefaring civilizations, whispered with a mixture of fear and respect: human ingenuity. It signified not just technological prowess, but an approach to challenges that defied conventional wisdom. The ability to achieve the impossible simply because no one had told them it couldn't be done. For the species of the Galactic Consortium, who had evolved through predictable patterns over millions of years, humanity represented something they had never before encountered, a future they could not predict. And in that uncertainty lay both danger and opportunity, a new age of galactic relations where adaptation, not tradition, would determine who would thrive among the stars.